Hello, One Piece enthusiasts. I am the One Piece nerd, and today let's talk about Wano as a whole. So, I would say that Wano is over. So, that doesn't mean it's, gonna skip right to the final arc. We're probably gonna have some build up, just like Post and his lobby. And, Straw Hat's gonna do stuff, Aramaki's there, stuff's gonna go down. But Wano, the main story of Wano is over. I wanted to keep it, I wanted to keep this video off until, the post-Wano stuff is over. But I'll just treat it as a separate arc. In terms of Wano as a whole, it started off very promising when you have two Emperors of the Sea, not technically two, let's say one, Kaido. Kaido's been building up to be this great monster that cannot be, defeated and that cannot be captured. Unbeatable guy, unbeatable Yonko, probably one of the strongest of the world, definitely one of the strongest in the world, equaling to Whitebeard, Roger, and, people like that. So, the build-up, the expectations were high, very high. We were still wondering on how Luffy's going to handle him. The arc started, the building up was very slow, very dragged on, typical shonen arc, typical One Piece arc if you ask me. It's been building up for 2-3 arcs, and we're finally at the climax of the saga. Then you get the addition of Big Mom. Now you have two Yonkos to deal with, and stuff gets more interesting as, time moves on, allies start to gather, the raid happens. Everything up until the raid was very slow, but it was definitely worthwhile. I feel like I could have been shortened down a lot, but, it's necessary for Oda to do his world building, because that's what One Piece is for. Was the payoff worth it? I would say so, yeah. We get to see everything of Wano's past, the present, the suffering the people of Wano have gone through, and everything that has happened over the last 20 years, and now we get the final resolution. It was definitely worth it to see the reactions. We sort of understand the pressure, the responsibility that Momonosuke had of winning the raid, of, winning against Kaido. That felt great. It was definitely worth it. The build-up, everything for the citizen of Wano, everyone who suffered in Ebisu Town, everything was definitely worth the wait. As for the raid itself, it had a lot of promise. Tobiropos were built up to be some of the strongest characters in the Beast Pirate crew. King and Queen were definitely the strongest. We knew something, it was going to be strong. Kaido himself is very strong. We expected King and Queen to be also very strong. And Tobiropo definitely didn't live up to the hype. Not exactly sure why, but, the defeat of the Tobiropo seemed very easy for the most part. Some of the fights between the Straw Hats and the Tobiropos were actually amazing. Robin versus Black Maria, Who's Who versus Frankie, everything was great. Those two fights cannot, say that they were, bad fights. All of the fights were mediocre in terms of One Piece standard. Honestly, we don't look for fights in One Piece, but rather the struggle of the Straw Hats in the raid wasn't much, if you ask me. Now, maybe me being a long-term leader of the manga and, a fan of anime and everything, watching so many shonens over my years, over the time, 10, 15 years, I'd say I know how the plot's gonna go. It's nothing unexpected. But even though I did it, when I reread Eni's lobby, Dressrosa, the stakes were very high. Even Alabasta. The fights we see, then the build up the Straw Hats have to go through in order to beat the main bad, it's always worth the wait. It was always worth seeing all these fights and seeing the main characters, the main casts get over their, some sort of a personal trauma, some sort of a development, some sort of a power-up. Everything was always there. Either one of these was there in terms of any fight. But this time around, aside from Zoro, Robin, and perhaps Jinbei, we didn't get to see much. Usopp and Nami did practically nothing. Nami got a new power-up. Usopp did almost nothing. And, Frankie versus Sasuke was, very very easily finished off. And Sanji versus Queen was definitely one of the best fights in the arc. The same goes for King and Zoro. And Luffy versus Kaido, let's get to that in a moment. But in terms of the rest of the fights, it was nothing all that jaw-dropping. I don't watch One Piece because I don't read One Piece because of the fights, but the fights aren't so bad as people say as they are. Like, when you think of every time the Straw Hats are faced off against the big bad, whether it be the Doflamingo family, Baroque Works, and his lobby, the CP9 people, it's always been great. It's always been worth the wait, and it was always fights that can be enjoyed rereading, even while going through episode by episode or chapter by chapter. Then again, maybe since I've been reading weekly basis ever since Wano started, I might have felt different about it. Maybe me reading week to week sort of destroyed my experience. I'd like to re-experience it later. But this is my thoughts and opinions so far, but honestly didn't live up to the hype. We've got quite a cliffhanger in our shoulder. I think the ending of Wano, the post-ending of Wano, would be great. It would actually do something great for the story. But aside from the Wano, aside from dealing with, all these cliffhangers at the end, the real fight, the raid, the fight versus Kaido and everything, felt a little off. There were a lot of promising plot points that could have been developed that Oda probably decided not to. And I didn't actually mind everything else. What I did mind was the last few chapters of the raid. Now, I'm a huge fan of One Piece. I call myself a One Piece nerd. I love the show. I love the manga. I love Oda. But it's not a perfect show. By no means is it a perfect show. Is this one of the best manga of all time? Yes. Is it the best manga of all time? In my opinion, yes. But it has its flaws. It definitely has its flaws, and I'm here to talk about it. I can be all willy-nilly and goody two-shoes every single time I talk about One Piece. I have to be critical as a reader. I have criticisms, I have praises, and I hope, a lot of you resonate with me, or, feel free to agree, disagree in the comment section down below. But I'm not done yet. So, the main problem that I get is Luffy versus Kaido. I don't even mind the fact that Luffy was, plot armored the hell out of the arc and, awakened Gear 5 and, all that cartoonish stuff. There were definitely plot armors over the show, though it's always been there, but plot armor in One Piece doesn't feel as bad. I'm gonna make a separate video on it, maybe sometime in the future, but plot armor in One Piece, in summary, doesn't feel all that bad. It doesn't, inherently feel as though it is plot armor. It's very hard to realize, unless you're like a very, observant, analytic guy who basically overanalyzes every single show, every single frame you watch or read. So this time around, Luffy's plot armor wasn't even the big problem. Gear 5 was amazing. Gear 5 versus Kaido was great. What was god-awful was all that waiting around every single chapter for the last 3, I would say, starting from 1050 to 1053. Every single time Luffy and Kaido clashed at the end of the chapter, and we had all that time just wasted, just seeing everyone in the castle burning up and the fire conflict going down, everyone's reactions and all that felt dragged. I thought it was going to lead to something, but again, for the entirety of Wano, there's a lot of plot points, a lot of things that could have been developed further, but it never was. Now, I don't want to get into details, but you can judge for yourselves. All that waiting around, all that build up to the final clash of Luffy versus Kaido, I feel like it could have been done better if you just dedicated one single chapter, or 2 chapters, where Luffy and Kaido went head on head, and finally we see the resolution of Kaido, defeated. And speaking of Kaido, I feel like there's a lot more behind Kaido's reasoning. There could have been a lot more reason as to why Kaido's doing everything the way he did. The way he made Wano his territory. He was looking forward to meeting Joy Boy. He knew there was something special. He wanted to create war in the world. And, there could have been better reasons as to why it happened. We could have gotten a lot of insights on the, God Valley incident through Kaido or even Big Mom. And, I feel like this could have been a great time to see what actually happened in God Valley. or why Kaido actually has this sort of mentality, what sort of mentality he had when he joined the crew, and what sort of mentality he had and then after he saw the dynamics of the Rock's crew. He said that, they're not loyal to each other. They're not loyal to each other as a pirate crew, and I feel like that could have been explored a little more than what we got. But anyways, that's my criticism for now. Kaido's backstory could have been a little lengthier, maybe a little more informative. The way Big Mom was defeated by Law and Kid, I don't even mind it. It's power up after power up after power up. I feel like, okay, it was worth the wait. I mean, Kid and Law needed them to shine, so they did. They had to be on par with Luffy, and so they did. I feel like, okay, I'll give it to Oda for this one. For Big Mom versus Law and Kid, I have problems, but I understand. What I didn't like was Luffy versus Kaido's ending. Could have been better. Didn't have to see all that reaction. The festivals and everything, the bounties, the emperors, all of them are great. Last chapter was great. But again, some of the plot points could have been explained a little bit more. Maybe some things weren't even supposed to be brought up. For example, Tama and everything. And well, we needed to see a lot more about the swords, about Zoro's swords. We wanted a little bit more of, sword theory and more sword lore or whatever you call it. Again, expectations were, set off really hard, as it always happens for us theorists, but again, we could expect a little bit more. I feel like Oda just, was bored. He thought it was gonna end it quicker, but stuff started coming into his head. Maybe he just wanted to finish it off very quick, but it is what it is. I have my criticisms out there. If you guys, agreed, make sure to like, comment down what you agreed on, comment down what you disagree on. If you guys enjoyed the video overall, please make sure to like and subscribe. It helps a lot in the channel, and thanks for watching.